Hey, folks, welcome back to the Rinkcast. Andy Campbell here with Season 9, Episode 9 of our Rinkcast. We are about 45 minutes away from puck drop, where the Blackhawks host the Washington Capitals on a Tuesday night, but we wanted to talk some shop as always some fun stuff to talk about with the Blackhawks. I'm here, and welcome back, Mr. Bard. The Bard is here tonight, folks. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah, 29 is a tough year, but I think that you'll be able to manage just fine.
Yep.
Welcome back. How was the birthday?
It was all good.
Awesome. Sean Fitzgerald is here, trying to rival Jimmy O'Malley in the ugly sweater Christmas competition tonight. Wow, we got some good ones there. We got Darth Vader, and then Jimmy. What do you got there?
I got Ewoking around the Christmas tree.
Oh my God! Okay, so we're very well Star Wars themed tonight,
and it's hard to beat it,
guys. Yeah. Well, welcome back, and well, you guys have been around a lot. Well, welcome, I guess. Sorry, we're. I don't know if we're season. I said season 9, episode 9. I think we're season 8, episode 9. I don't know. I always get these things wrong, and Gate always gets upset with me. But we'll figure it out.
You're like Billy Bean in Moneyball. I don't know what time it is. I don't care. What it was, dipping and drinking.
Anyway, I've got the old tagger. That's why it is. Let me get the new ticker there. Anyway, folks, some things to talk about. One of which that came up. One of which has come about late, or that came around the Twitter waiver wire today. The idea that Kaapo Kakko is being shot by the New York Rangers. And through the hockey news, and then a bunch of Twitter folks were suggesting that Chicago either is in on this, should be in on this, or it should be a possible destination. Kakko, the one-time second overall pick of the New York Rangers, often misunderstood and criticized. He has a 4-goal campaign right now, where the Rangers are really slogging through this month. They've been just god-awful. Bardo, how many have they lost? They've lost something, or they've won 2 in their last 12 or something.
Yeah, I think it's like 3 of their last 13 or something like that.
But it's been really, really grim for a roster that is built to win now. But anyway, the big rub is Kakko is a restricted free agent to be. He's 23 years old, and so he might be on the market. People are saying Hawks might be a potential suitor. Bardo, we're going to start with you because you're New York ties, and we want to know what you think of all this.
No, thank you. No, thank you to Kaapo Kakko. Yeah. That's all. That's it. I mean, he's his time is come and gone. I'm not going to say that. Well, look, he's going to be an NHL player for a while. How good is he going to be? I don't think he's going to be any good. I mean, he's been on talented teams for his entire career. Playoff cup contending teams, and I think his career best has been an 18-goal season, and he's been a guy who's been a top 6 forward. What is a change of scenery going to do? I just don't see it really, turning things around for him. He's a big and physical kid. I've seen effort issues with him, attitude issues, but quite frankly, I just don't think this is an avenue they need to go down right now. I think they need guys that are in their prime, that are proven commodities. I don't think we need to just make a trade for the sake of making a trade. And, look, I mean, I know we kicked around the idea, is it, do you do Kurashev and a pick for him and a pick? Yes, he probably has a higher ceiling than Kurashev, but right now I think Kurashev fits. I think he's a nice piece. And yeah, maybe he doesn't have the upside, but right now, I mean, why would the Hawks trade him for somebody who is just not a proven commodity? I would consider trading Kurashev, but I would trade him for something a little bit. I would put more into the package and get a more proven commodity. This just isn't it.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I mean, I think it all depends on the return if you were even going to entertain this. And let's play devil's advocate here for a minute. And let's say that the Blackhawks were pursuing this or going to go through it. I mean, the best that Kakko has done is had one full season in the NHL. He's often injured or undressed, but he's only played one 82-game season where he had 18 goals 22 assists. I mean, this is a 6-year NHL player. He's in his 6th season. He's 23 years old.
Yeah.
So I don't, we can talk a little bit more about development and things like that. But Jimmy, if the Hawks were to do this, where would this conversation start with you? And is this something that you would say, okay, well, if they were going to do it this way, I'd be okay with it?
The conversation to me, if I'm GM, is I'm taking him off your hands and you're paying me to do so. I mean, Bardo just mentioned his character issues. It just came out, Kaapo Kakko. This is a direct quote. Haven't been on the ice too much when opponents score a goal. I have not been the worst guy, but that was me out of the lineup. I mean, it seems like this guy is burning bridges.
Okay, so he's on his way out.
Yeah,
he's going somewhere.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you'd almost, if you want him, you'd go to the Rangers, be like, listen, you're going to lose the trade on paper. You're trading him to us to get him off your hands. It would be like, hey, we'll give you a 7th round pick for Kakko and a 5th, and that'll be business. We'll take his entire contract. If the Rangers want positive value, go to some other team. And good luck, because it really seems like not only is there a talent deficiency and a lineup deficiency of where he belongs, there's also he's burning the bridges. There's a relationship deficiency. It's gone, so that's where the conversation starts. It's, hey, you're giving us value for him. On paper, you're going to lose this trade.
Gotcha. I mean, the Rangers were rebuilding when they got him number 2 overall. And Sean, is this kind of, for all those that don't want to see our prospects marinating in the AHL, all Blackhawks fans that are saying, play the kids, get them up here. Now you have a 6-year pro who's 23 years old who never figured it out. Would the AHL have done this kid some good?
I think it would have. I think just based on like his draft status is the reason why they brought him up to the NHL right away. I mean, you don't send the number 2 overall pick to the AHL to marinate.
Right.
But yes,
Chicago's doing it right now.
Chicago is doing it.
Yeah, apples and oranges, defensemen.
Right, defensemen, forwards, defensemen take longer to develop. But yeah, I think the AHL would have done him good. And like Bardo said, I think he's gonna hang around for a while in the NHL just because he was a 2nd overall pick.
Right.
And that's going to be the case of this. I think if the Hawks were going to trade for him, I think 2 years ago would have been the time. I don't think now like the prospects are starting to, here's a big word, matriculate to the NHL. And hopefully a lot of the guys are going to fill up some of your roster. You don't want a reclamation project, then you're going to have to give a roster spot to, give time to fit into your already young roster. So I think whoever trades for him, he's going to the AHL with them. I don't think he's playing in the NHL right away. And back to Jimmy's point, they're going to have to pay the freight to move him. Mm-hmm. So like maybe it's a swap of spots in a draft. You're not getting anything of value for him. Nobody's going to be like, hey, here's a 3rd round pick and a good player because, he's the 2nd overall pick who hasn't scored more than 18 goals in a season, and he's like 7th or 8th on the Rangers in points. So
I'm going to throw a couple of other things out there. Ranger fans and which is, it's fairly true, but Ranger fans will tell you that they are awful at developing forwards. So this could be a symptom of a bigger problem. I don't know what that means, but it's just something that they've just never been able to do consistently, like develop elite forwards. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kakko came out very highly regarded as an elite goal scoring winger with size, with skill, etc. His numbers where they were fairly strong, if I remember correctly, his first couple of years was, I guess, his 200-foot game. I don't remember if it's Corsi or whatever it is, but he always seemed to be on a, strong in that area. Again, I don't know what those numbers are recently, but that, for what it's worth, I mean, to me, it just sounds very much like he's at best a middle 6 forward. And I just don't think you're giving up a lot for somebody like him. And I just don't. I think it's somebody that you could develop middle 6 forwards. I mean, the Hawks. I'm confident in the Hawks being able to do that. I think bringing him in, knowing he's got that label as a 2nd overall pick. I think the expectations coming over, it's a change of scenery, but they're going to expect him to develop even at 23. And I just don't think they need that distraction when you already are going to have all these other distractions and the expectations of all these other kids coming up and developing. You know what I'm saying?
That makes sense. That's actually a really good take. The idea that it's you're taking on, you're trying to promote a winning culture, you're trying to get back on track. Why would you take on a maligned player that has had, a lot of question marks around him? It's a big gamble.
Yeah,
a big gamble there.
And he's going to be an RFA, so he's going to, you could qualify him, not qualify, whatever. But what is he going to cost versus what is he going to produce? And I just don't. I'd rather take that salary slot and put it towards a proven experience scorer or something like that, or a quality number 2 center, whatever it is. I just don't think it's worth just taking on something with with all the baggage, quote unquote, that he.
Yeah, and when we tweeted it out today, a lot of the names that Blackhawks fans are suggesting in a trade for him, it just don't make a whole lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Ryan Donato is even being mentioned by some people in a possible trade trip with someone like Kakko makes no sense at all.
He's one of your best assets right now because he's been scoring.
Honestly,
inspiring deal.
It makes sense for the Rangers. They're win now. They're in a win now mode.
I still like the idea of moving Hall. I'm actually a big advocate right now of keeping Donato around for a few more years. I mean, I think Ryan Donato, if your third and fourth line center over the next 3 years are Ryan Donato and Jason Dickinson, I think you've got somewhat of stability there. I don't think those are bad things. I mean, Donato's 28 years old, I think, right now.
Yep.
You could also see Donato wearing an A potentially.
Yeah, he's had a great season. He's played a great role. He won a key draw in that game over the weekend. After taking a penalty, then gets in the faceoff circle, wins the draw, and Bedard's winning goal. Kurashev is a name I'd actually be okay with. Not just packaging for Kakko, but Kurashev, an RFA to be. I do want to touch base a little bit on Kurashev right now, and I want some of your thoughts on this. Have we seen the best of Philip Kurashev to date? And he's 25 years old. Is there more that we're not seeing? Is it finally time to say Kurashev's had a great run here, and if we're going to be moving some people to try to pick up parts, is his name going to be in conversations?
I would think you'd have to do your due diligence and see what the interest is around the league. He's pretty cheap. I think was his contract like $2.2 million.
Yeah, 2.25 and an RFA.
And an RFA.
They can wait this out as long as they have to.
They can wait this out. But I mean, I think you should window shop them, just see what people are willing to pay. Again, I agree. I think last year we saw his ceiling. His ceiling was,
54 points.
Yeah, I mean, just scoring a ton as a complimentary scorer. He had 18 goals, 56 assists, 54 goals. Mm-hmm. But I mean, again, this year 5 points in 28. I don't think he's gonna get any better.
Right.
And with the team just getting younger and probably better around him as the years go on, where is he gonna fit? Is he gonna be? He's not skilled enough to be top 6, and he's not defensively minded enough to be bottom 6. I just don't know where he goes.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. I think it really is reaching a point where you just have to just shop him around and see what you can get.
Yeah, I mean that's why his name, if Kakko was something the Hawks are pursuing, that's a name you put in there because you kind of almost give him away in a sense. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think also I was going to say the 54 points. You wonder also, is he a good player on a bad team, and can he flip that and be, I'm not flip it, but just say, can he be a productive player on a good team? I don't know that.
I don't know.
And that goes to the point of where does he fit in a lineup?
Yeah. And I think that, I don't know. It almost feels like he's kind of having that kind of, that track record of, kind of a Dominic Kubalik, or, I'm trying to think of, there's one other player that was on the tip of my tongue that you move and you trade, but his best years were in Chicago during an isolated period of time.
Oh, you thinking Richard Panik?
Richard Panik.
Well, there's Richard Panik, there's Kubalik. I mean, Marcus Piasuter, Marcus Kruger was done at 28 or so, and then he was on his way back to Europe. But I think it's one of those, like, the short window of time where they showed a little offensive excellence and then you saw everything you needed to see.
Mhm.
And then that was it. So I just don't think I to your point, Jimmy, I just don't know where he's a fit anywhere.
I mean, I
kind of
threw in a mock trade, basically flipping Kurashev in the 5th for Kakko in the 4th, and basically the selling point was, hey, Rangers, just drop back 10 draft slots. We'll give you a forward that's a little better than Kakko right now, and we'll take on Kakko, who has a higher ceiling. But both of these guys have 1 year left on their deal, and maybe it'll work out with a change of scenery for both.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, who knows? I mean, as far as the other tradable pieces, I mean, the only other UFA to be, I mean, there is Ryan Donato. Again, I would be somewhat, I don't want to say perturbed. I guess it would depend on the return. If someone gives you an offer for Ryan Donato that you can't walk away from, then obviously do it. Like if someone dangled a first for Ryan Donato, which I don't think anyone would, that just sounds crazy. But other than that, I don't know if I would deal Donato right now. Hall, you want to see him back in the lineup as soon as possible. He seems like the only other UFA that's a really big trade chip. Because I don't do we even foresee with their other UFAs any sort of market for Pat Maroon or Craig Smith? I don't know. Doesn't seem like it. Alec Martinez, there won't be a market for him. And then other than that, as far as UFAs, that's it.
I actually think, look, Craig Smith hasn't been bad. So I think if there's somebody looking for fourth line depth, and Maroon, we know he's got cup experience and he's the type of guy that you want to throw out on a fourth line potentially for a cup team and who can, stand in front of the net on a second power play unit. I mean, I'm not expecting to get anything more than a 6th or 7th, if that, but and maybe it's 2026 when they get that pick. But I mean, there's value there. But at that point, when you're talking about that type of a pick, you may just want to let them finish the season. But
yeah, I mean, they could move. They can move Maroon or they can move Smith for.
Yeah, you're not getting value.
Late pick at the best or future.
Yes.
And at what point do you stop acquiring draft picks? Like,
they've got plenty of those, and I don't think there's
they have tons. They have 8 next year.
Well, if they're going to trade anything and return any value, they might want to consider future picks as part of
exactly. That's
not any of these players.
If you're trading, if you're trading something, you're acquiring somebody who's going to fit your long-term plan, or at least the next several years when you're going to win. You're not doing rental deals anymore.
I'd love to see Kyle Davidson busier at the draft and potentially that pick that's in the 20th overall range that they have this year. Mm-hmm. Maybe that be something that they consider moving. I mean, they're very likely going to have a top 5 pick, unless all of a sudden Sorensen has them turn on the Jets and get out of that, which I don't see that happening.
No.
But it would be really nice if they're really looking to add an NHL player, someone that could really help the team. I really do think, to your point, Sean, it's time for Kyle to start dangling some of those picks.
Yeah, he's got so many, and they're not going to have enough contract space to use all these picks for players. So now you have this asset, and like Eric was all about asset management. So it's time to start using these assets to acquire players to, whether it's augment the fringes or like acquire a big time piece to help this team take the next step forward. We don't want to be picking in the top 10 next year, or top 5, I should say. We'll probably pick in the top 10, but we don't want to pick in the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting.
And I guess one last thing on this possible trade, since we were talking about Maroon and Smith, them specifically, another reason I wouldn't want to really dangle them out, not because there's not value. It's just Reichel has developed pretty well as a fourth line guy with those guys. I mean, he's probably had his most complete season this year because of those guys, and he's learning from them. And it's like, hey, you look actually like a competent fourth line center. Yeah. Why would we mess with this positive development and this positive?
Yeah. Reichel's flying around out there. He's playing with a ton of confidence.
Yeah. I mean,
it's awesome. And he and Maroon are buddies.
Yeah.
And I think it's been great. They finally have someone to help the kid.
Yeah. Question is that can Reichel now elevate his game and move up in the lineup, to a third or second line guy?
That's the ultimate goal.
That is still I guess the jury's still out on that. We'll see.
But we have time. Then he's basically Kurashev 2.0. So
but we'll see. I mean, we still got another year of Reichel at a very cheap price tag. We'll see where he goes from here. And I don't know. And if those guys do get shipped out of town, is that the time or March and April where you start moving Reichel up the depth chart just to see what he can do then? Because at that point, it's, may as well try different things.
Yep.
Good start. Let's move on to the kid here. Let's talk about CB for a little bit. Connor Bedard with a game-winning goal, much needed game-winning goal. His second shot on goal. Since the last time we talked, he's popped a couple. He had that absolute gem on the island. He's that goal that he scored against the Islanders, not on the island anymore, but against the New York Islanders. A beautiful goal, and he seems to be finding his offense. So far this month, there's been 8 games. He's got 9 points. He's got 3 goals and 6 assists. It's funny, everyone, everyone's like, oh, the slumping Bedard and sophomore slump and all this stuff. And sure, there's an argument for that. But, this kid has 31 games. He's got 26 points. There's still a chance if he picks it up a little bit and he stays healthy throughout the year. I mean, we're still talking about a 19-year-old that could have a 75 to 80 point season.
Yeah, he's still one of the youngest kids in the
and people are like, wow, what's happening to him? You're on the worst team in the NHL, and he could possibly, still have pretty lights out season. Is he about to turn the corner? Is the Sorensen thing help? We've seen some games that first period against the Islanders in New York, he had a jump in his step. New Jersey, he was flying. He hit the crossbar twice. I think it was Darren Pang who said in the last broadcast that, Bedard has hit 10 or 11 posts this year really hard. And if 5 of those go in, we're having different conversations about him. Is he snake bit? Is he about to turn it around? Shawnee, what do you say?
I think he's going to turn it around. And Scott Powers had an article out there today, I believe, just about Sorensen's effect on the Blackhawks. He gave some video evidence, talking about the forecheck a lot, but he also talked about Connor Bedard and their individual relationship, in which Sorensen and him had conversations. Like, Sorensen's built him up, because his confidence was shattered for a while. You saw it in his play. Yeah. And Sorensen has pulled him aside. They've talked.
Visibly frustrated.
Yeah, they've talked. And since Sorensen's, he was kind of trending close to being similar to what he was. But since Sorensen's taken over, you've just seen a marked difference in his offensive approach to the game. You see him doing things that make him special. Under Luke Richardson, you didn't really see that. And I think Sorensen, it's partially Bedard, but I think Sorensen is a big part of it. Sorensen's gift, at least in coaching, seems to be his ability to communicate with younger players. They mentioned Lucas Reichel and how he's been able to have tough conversations with him. He would help Kevin Korchinski, and now I think we're seeing that wear off on Connor Bedard. So I think Sorensen is a big part of it, and I think Connor Bedard is going to take off.
I love it. Great take. Are some of you in agreement with that? I mean, it seems like from blue line to blue line right now, this team's quicker.
Yeah, I think it's. I think in addition to the the communication aspect, which I think is a huge part of it, I think it's a system thing as well. I mean, you're almost going from, to make a football analogy, you're almost going from the ground and pound defensive style like that you would see from a Marty Schottenheimer or a Jim Harbaugh to the Dick Vermeil wide open offense, greatest show on turf kind of thing. It's like that type of shift is what you're seeing. And it's just allowing them to just, play freer and just relax and just go and not think so much and not be so, I mean, I don't want to say meticulous. I don't know what the word is, but not be so just focused on just, defense. And okay, if we have a chance to go down the other way and score, we will. It's just go. It's just 60 minutes of hell is what it is. So you can see the forecheck even is just, so in your face. And it's not just like, let's sit back and wait for our chances. It's not like that. So
he's playing tonight with Foligno and Donato. And a lot of people go, and I get that. Those aren't the 2 most offensive guys in the world. What I do like is that he's playing with 2 left-hand shots and 2 guys that can win draws. So when those faceoffs are on the left side of the ice, Connor Bedard is not in the dot.
Mm-hmm.
And Sorensen knows that. Mm-hmm. He knows that. Those were things that would elude Luke Richardson. He wasn't thinking that way.
No.
And
he's not very detail oriented.
No, and you need guys. If you're going to have Connor Bedard play center, fine. But when he's on the ice, you need to have someone on his flank that is going to win a faceoff, so you have puck possession.
Yeah.
Because when you have puck possession, good things happen. When Connor Bedard is chasing the play, it's not good for him. It's not good for anybody.
Yeah.
So, Jimmy, what do you say about all this with Sorensen and the Bedard and this? Are we going to see an uptick here? And are you picking up what Sorensen's putting down? You've been around Sorensen and following him through the Ice Hogs more than any of us.
Yeah, I mean, this is more of the same that we've seen in Rockford, which is why we're seeing guys like, Kevin Korchinski just come up and immediately kind of fit in. It's the system he had in Rockford for basically the entire season. He's, the 2-1-2 forecheck. He wants to be aggressive. He trusts his defensemen to at the very least be in position. And even if they're not, at this point, really, who cares? We're going to probably lose anyway. So let's just try to get a goal to get some, confidence in the guys.
Go up tempo.
Yeah. Like that game against the Islanders, we lost, 5-4? And we talked before the season. It's like, God, I want to lose games 5-4 and not 3-1. And that was that kind of game. And that's Sorensen's just bread and butter. And what we're seeing is a lot of what we saw in Rockford, which gives me reason to believe Frank Nazar will also really find form with a couple more games.
Awesome. Let's talk about those kids real quick. Now that we're on to that, Korchinski, Drew Comesso got his first start in the NHL. 4-1 loss to the Devils. He was great through 2 periods, and then all of a sudden the dam broke, and he kind of got lit up there at the end. Nazar's played a couple games now. Korchinski, Sean and I were talking about before the show, Korchinski's marketably different than he was last year. And I do think a lot of that, as you mentioned, the tutelage in Rockford. Jimmy, I want to go back to you here, though, with Comesso and Nazar. What have you been seeing in these first couple games? Obviously, one showing for Comesso, only a couple games for Nazar. He's got to get used to the speed. Do you see these guys sticking around for a little bit? Obviously, with injuries, they might have to.
I think they might have to, especially Nazar, because they shoved down Anderson basically to make room for him. I feel like once Smith is completely healthy, it seems like he has some sort of illness, but once he's completely healthy, he'll probably go on the 4th line right wing next to Reichel, and Anderson will be sent down. It seems like we talked about this a lot when he was going to be called up. We all wanted him to stay up, and it seems like that's the mentality. It's you're going to stay up unless you just clearly can't. And what we saw in the game against the Devils and the home game against the Islanders is, he's keeping up. He knows his strengths. He knows where to go. Like, he's not a stranger in the ice. A lot of what he did in Rockford with Sorensen, he's doing again here. And with Comesso, I mean, he's a very what's the word I want to use? He's very vanilla. He's reliable and he's not fancy. He's not like this athletic. He's not the Hasek like athletic guy that's stretching out 50,000.
Fundamentally sound.
Yeah, he's fundamental. That's a great way to say
he's Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
Tim Duncan.
Yeah, I hope he has.
Tim Duncan was a Hall of Famer, but
I know.
I hope he is
fundamental.
Kirk McLean. Kirk
McLean. That makes a lot of sense. He's not going to make the flashiest of saves, although he's made a couple. But he's going to make the saves you expect. He's going to be in the positions that you expect a decent goaltender to be in, and he has. Other than that absolute avalanche that happened in the game against the Devils, which I don't put on him. That was a defensive breakdown. That was such a defensive breakdown. I mean,
it was Brody and Wyatt Kaiser, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and Wyatt Kaiser is not playing because of it.
Well, we can put Wyatt Kaiser in that Philip Kurashev, who's buying him type trade deal. Yeah. I don't know. Kaiser, I don't know how long he's going to be part of the plan.
Especially with guys like Rinzel and Levchinov coming up. I mean, I don't know where he stands.
No. So maybe he should just enjoy it while he's got it. But I don't know where you would trade a Wyatt Kaiser. Anyway, I think Kevin Korchinski looks physically stronger. Mm-hmm. He looks physically stronger and bulkier, and he looks more confident. And a lot of that is just body maturation. I mean, a lot of that is just kinesiology for going from a teenager to being a young man. And just Go ahead, Bart. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say we know his strength was his skating, and I mean I think what he just needed to learn how to do was play defense, and like you can see when he was going like this is the play that's going to probably stand out for everybody for a long time was when he was going one-on-one with Panarin at the Garden. I mean that was impressive. I mean,
that was great.
I was like, who the hell is this? I mean, this wasn't the same Korchinski that was up last year. I mean. And God, that was impressive. And he's just built on that. So, I mean, I think we're seeing a completely, a maturing player right before our eyes and a developing player. Look, this stint that he had in the AHL was the best thing to happen for him.
Yeah.
Comesso, I couldn't agree with you more, Jimmy, is that he's really just positionally sound. He's fundamentally sound, solid. There's nothing spectacular. There's nothing athletic about him, but, he just has to rely on his fundamentals. There's usually a ceiling for that, but who knows? We'll see. You put a great defense in front of him and maybe that's all you need. And, we haven't seen much yet with Nazar since his return, but I'm sure it's coming. I'm not concerned about
that. I mean, and the best Blackhawks teams that we saw last decade, the goaltending was as good as the D in front of them.
Exactly.
Yep.
You could put anybody back there. That defense was, I remember games where they were just limiting shots. It's like you're just asking your goaltender to make 19 saves a night. That's all. That's all you need. And if they have a defense that good, then it doesn't matter who's in net.
Yeah. Well, I tell you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sean.
Maybe Nazar gets going tonight because Taylor Hall is in the lineup.
Oh, he is in the lineup.
Yeah, he is in the lineup. Ben Pope tweeted 7 minutes ago he's going to play on Nazar's wing.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Is Bedard still playing with Foligno and?
Yes, it's still Foligno, Bedard, Donato, Hall, Nazar, Bertuzzi, Tavo, Dickinson.
Great. Yeah, that's a good line for the kid.
Yeah.
And Jimmy, I think was it you or was it Sean who mentioned with Sorensen right now? Bertuzzi's game has changed a bit.
Oh, you and I were talking about that prior. That during Bertuzzi's games changed due to the checking style that the forechecking style that Sorensen has rolled out. Him and Mikheyev and Dickinson have really seen an uptick in their game with the forecheck and causing more offensive zone turnovers for them. So or defensive zone turnovers for the opposition. So they were getting the puck, keeping it in and things like that. So Bertuzzi's game has improved, and Mikheyev and Dickinson, according to the Powers article, have been two of the best forwards on his new checking style. So that's I was speculating earlier before the pod started. That might be the reason why Mikheyev was on the top line with Bedard a little bit last week.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha. Awesome. Good call.
Yeah,
I think we're talking about D and we're talking about Korchinski looking better. I mean, he's still not where he needs to be, and I mean, when Martinez comes back and Seth Jones come back, Korchinski could be right back in Rockford, and that's okay. That's fine. Maybe not. Maybe he sticks around for a little while. But Hawks, Hawks fans, you be patient again with the defenseman here. I mean, we were going back and forth the other day. Sam Rinzel is the number one scoring defenseman in the country right now in the NCAA, and he's a sophomore at University of Minnesota, and he was a late first-round pick of the Blackhawks. And so that kid's coming at some point. So you've got him, now I'm not dare suggesting we're going back to, to suggest that it's going to be Keith, Seabrook, Oduya, and Hjalmarsson. That's a lofty goal, but at the same time, the best thing that could happen in a top four is Lev Shinov, Korchinski, Vlasic, and Sam Rinzel, which could be within a 3-year window. And that will be one of the most young, formidable top fours in the league, period. So it's starting to happen. Which is
then Seth Jones probably still in that mix at some point.
Yeah, but he'll be the Brian Campbell of the group.
Yep.
Still valuable, overpaid, but very valuable.
Yep.
I mean, Brian Campbell was a breakout machine. Just take the puck behind the net and be like, oh, we just broke out.
Yeah. Also, another young defenseman that Powers alluded to playing better, Nolan Allen. He said Nolan Allen's been playing better.
Yeah, he's been doing okay.
I mean, if you told me the opening night defensive lines in 2026 were, Korch, Levshunov, Vlasic, Jones, Allen, Rinzel, I'd be stoked. Like that'd be like, holy cow, future's here. Like
I agree.
Rinzel will probably move up the lineup as the year goes on, but future's there. And
I've always been a fan of Allen, and I've always thought of him as a upside being sort of a 4-5 guy.
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of him, and I knew he needed time to develop, and he was going to make some mistakes, and I'm glad to see him develop. I am the president of the Nolan Allen fan club
and the fundamentally sound player club, because
Don't
that's
tell
what
Ray.
Nolan Allen is.
He's not
Yes.
a big fan. Yeah,
Yes.
Ray's not a big Nolan Allen.
No, Ray is not a fan of.
I know Ray doesn't like
Taylor
him.
and Seth.
But ultimately, if Allen
does Ray like?
if Allen is
He doesn't like. I don't.
nobody. If Allen is in your bottom six pairing, if he's your sixth defenseman when you have a really good blue line and he's in his fourth NHL year, there are worse things in this world. I mean, he's steady Eddie back there. I mean, he's very steady. He's not complicated, and and you don't notice him very much, and that's what you need out of someone in that role. Good stuff. So before we let you all go, before puck drop, we want to talk about the teddy bear toss in Rockford the other night that Jimmy was available for it. What was that like? I've never been to a teddy bear toss game, but Jimmy's been fun. Hey, folks, first of all, anything on the Rockford Ice Hogs that you need to know, Jimmy O'Malley's your guy. All right, his articles are crisp. He's in the building. He's got press passes. He talks to Dana, the guy who does the play-by-play. We're going to have Dana back here again. But anyway, Jimmy, teddy bear toss, you were there. What was that like? Was that fun?
It was so exciting. I think the one thing, this was the first home game of Mark Eaton's interim career. They were coming off a 3-game road losing streak where they only scored 1 goal in 3 games. And you could tell there's an anticipation, not just in the fans to, throw their teddy bears. There's an anticipation on the players to be like, all right, like we gotta get this offense going. We gotta get some home cooking. And they could have scored multiple times in the first, and the crowd was antsy. Every time there was a shot, I tell you, everyone stood up. Every time. I had my phone out to take a video every time they were in the offensive zone, and there are a lot of oohs and ahs. But of all people to score that teddy bear toss goal, it's about 5 minutes into the second. Colin Felix not only scoring the teddy bear toss goal, it was his first AHL goal of his career.
That's awesome.
You can't have a better start. And I think, if I remember correctly, I wrote in the article, they had a total of 3,721 teddy bears collected, donated to charity in the Rockford area. It was a wonderful event. I got to talk to Colin Felix after the game. In his post-game interview, he was so excited to be a part of such a cool event. And any player that we got to talk to Colton Dock. We also got to talk to Mark Eaton after the game. And they just talked about how just exciting it was to just, be part of something that was so valuable to the community and something that is really taking off in, amateur hockey circles and AHL hockey circles. It started kind of small, but it feels like every team's doing it. And it's such a cool event. It's so fun to see in person. Like after the goal scored, I walked down from the press area and did a lap on the concourse. And it's I'm watching teddy bears fly over my head, and people are laughing and having a blast. And you see players on the ice collecting the teddy bears and having a great time. It was truly a fun experience to be a part of. And I think the biggest thing too, it was just a huge win for Rockford. It was a win they desperately needed. They were on this little skid, and they got that 5-1 victory against Iowa. And then next day at 4:00, they played Milwaukee, and Milwaukee, they're a powerhouse in the AHL, and they beat them 2-1 in the shootout in a chippy back and forth pro level game. And Levshunov had a primary assist. The shootouts were incredible. I forget how to say his name. Goudreau, and it's not like Goudreau, but it's the Ben Goudreau, I think, is their backup goaltender now that Camesso is out. First career start, won in a shootout. I mean, it was it was very emotional. And I think the biggest thing asked Mark Eaton after the game, how is the team doing with all these changes? He's like, these guys are pros. Even though they're young, they're pros and they're handling it well. And the last 2 games have proved it. They faced 2 in-division, rivals. They got chippy, and they could have easily gotten themselves in a lot of penalty trouble trying to come off a tough losing streak. But no, they kept their composure. Whatever the noise was, with all the call-ups and the coaching change, they played so professionally. It It's something that Chicago fans really need to pay attention to, because even if Nazar and Korchinski and Comesso no longer there, there's some guys there. There's some guys that I really think could be very positive bottom six contributors for a long time.
Good stuff. That's I could imagine the pressure if they had to go into the third period without
scoring. Oh my goodness! You
don't need. Yeah, can you imagine going through can you imagine getting shut out at your teddy bear toss game?
Funny enough,
it's going to happen. It is bound to happen, and I don't know what you do.
Almost happened.
Do you do do you first shootout goal score? Do you then throw?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, what?
Yeah, right. If there's a shootout, I don't know. They need to start getting some bylaws down for this.
It almost happened when Rockford played Springfield. I think last Monday, Rockford held them a 1-0 lead. 10 minutes into the third, Springfield finally scored. It was really crazy to watch because you feel the anticipation, and I could feel it between the first and second period. That intermission, like fans are like, all right, we're
a little anxious.
We're a little anxious, but they're like, oh, we had such a good offensive period. Like, we're gonna get somewhere. We're gonna get it. And it finally did. It was great.
Yeah, and I'm sure I bet the players too. After those teddy bears come down, like, good, now we can just play.
Yeah. When I was writing the article, I was
getting this first goal.
Yeah. When I was writing the article, I was going through the Rockford Ice Hogs Flickr for photos to use for the article, and you could just see the pictures of players collecting teddy bears, the team hug after the goal, and you could see all their faces like. Oh, thank goodness, right? For we've been held to 1 goal in 3 games. Glad we didn't have to go through another one of those. And they had an offensive explosion too. 5 goals in that game, desperately needed.
Awesome. Well, good. Glad you were there. Glad you were part of it. And thanks again for all your coverage on in Rock Vegas with the Hoggers. It's good stuff.
It's great.
Awesome. Well, the puck is about to droppeth, folks. Blackhawks, Capitals. Let's hope for a good night for Connor Bedard and the team. Let's hope for a bad night for Dylan Strome.
I was waiting for
his Washington Capitals. You really think without a dig on Dylan Strome? I'm not leaving without a dig on Dylan Strome when they're playing the Caps.
Yeah, all the hype around Dylan Strome lately.
Had a great
interview. If people have said on Twitter, and we've said before, nobody wanted Dylan Strome. The Capitals took a chance, and they play him with Ovi. So
good for him.
He remembers correctly. He played with Connor McDavid in juniors and put up a ton of points.
Yeah, so. I mean, he's finally having the season that everyone thought he was once capable of. Do I believe this will be the only one of those? I do, but that's just me. So I'm still not a believer. But anyway, congrats, Dylan. I guess.
Yeah.
But go Hawks. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
All right. Well, thanks, folks, for joining us tonight. Bardo, great to have you back, buddy. Not the same.
Good to be back.
You and again, happy belated birthday to you. It was Bardo's birthday yesterday. Any of you in the Twitter universe that follow Bardo, give him a shout. The Jedi clearly are not extinct, as you can tell from the sweaters that both Sean and Jimmy represent here. And I guess from all of us at the rink, happy holidays. This might be it before Christmas, and we might be back. Would love to be back to talk some World Juniors when that begins. That might be after the Christmas holiday, because all of a sudden, it is December 17th. So this time next week, we all might be a little bit busier than we normally are. We'll let you know if we squeak one more in. If we don't, happy holidays, and God bless you all. And God bless the Hawks. And God bless all my buddies on the rink. Life is being able to break up the week and podcast with you guys has been a big highlight of my 40s, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Mine too.
And my late 20s.
and
Bardo's late 20s.
And Bard's big 29th birthday.
Yeah.
So, congrats, man.
Go Irish.
Whose 29th birthday is it?
What?
Yeah.
Which
Take
29th
care,
birthday?
everybody. And
6th 29th birthday?
If I'm doing my math correctly, I think it's the 19th anniversary of my 29th birthday.
Very good.
Oh, Bardo. Yeah.
Well, let's go tune in if you can watch in the Chicagoland area, and let's hope for if you can watch it, let's hope for a Hawks W tonight. And take care, everyone, and happy holidays.
Go Irish, beat Indiana.
And The Last Jedi sucked. I need to end it on a hot take.